Hello, welcome to Did You Watch Survivor Last Night? My name is Jake Scheidel. This is a podcast about competition reality shows and friendship, in which I ask my best friend, Thomas Powell, if he did indeed watch a certain reality show last night. Hey, Tommy. Hey, Tommy Powell. Hey, Tommy Pow. Hey, Thomas, how you doing?
It's Tommy Vegas to you, I'll remind you.
Oh, my God.
The only time that you ever refer to me as Tommy is if you call me Tommy Vegas.
Tommy Vegas, how you doing?
Tommy Vegas died several weeks ago, but I'm doing
R.I.P.
I'm doing all right. Yeah, R.I.P. in peace, Tommy Vegas. I'm good, man. I'm good.
That's good. I'm happy to hear that. This is like the third or fourth week in a row we've recorded on a Monday. I feel like we're starting a new trend.
Almost.
And it's weird.
Well,
we gotta get back in the swing of things.
It honestly, I think it fits with sort of, we've been zigging where we normally zag with these last few episodes, so this sort of fits the new tack that we've taken.
Yeah. We'll get back on track. We've both had things going on or other things, so stop asking us questions. Anyway, if you missed our last episode, we had been watching John Cena's American Grit, but then decided not to watch that show anymore because we kind of hated it. So Thomas, I've got a new question for you. Did you watch The Lobster last night?
I did indeed watch The Lobster last night.
It's much more enjoyable than John Cena's American Grit, I would say.
Oh, yeah, it just really exponentially better. Like, it's hard to describe the dichotomy in quality between the two.
Yeah, last week when you said I would rather be watching The Lobster, I was like, oh yeah, I would like to see that movie. But I mean, like, watching this reality show has such a certain feel to it. That feel pales in comparison to the feeling I had watching The Lobster.
Yep. It was good. I liked all of the contestants on it. I thought that the hotel manager was a pretty decent host.
Yeah.
Could have used with more coherent editing, but I like that they didn't hold our hands too much with it.
Mm-hmm. Which is like the exact thing that American Grit was doing, but also simultaneously not doing. So I would agree with that statement.
One of the few reality shows I've seen that doesn't have, sort of talking head confessionals, which was honestly very refreshing.
Yeah, I liked seeing something different, like the talking head thing's been done for 20 plus years at this point. Like, let's see what it's like if we don't hear from the contestants.
Let's not hear from the contestants. Let's turn the contestants into animals. We're shaking things up. We're throwing out the baby with the bathwater.
We're turning them into animals in that we're pointing cameras at them and like watching them, but also we're literally turning them into animals.
Honestly, and maybe that's like a subtle sort of. You don't usually see social commentary from reality shows, but maybe that is. It's like we're going to literally turn people into animals because other reality TV figuratively does.
Exactly, and it's like finally Colin Farrell's come around and been like, "Hey, this is what it's like when you're on a reality TV show."
I thought,
I really appreciate that.
Honestly, I did think it was, we're joking and we're calling him Colin Farrell. I did think it was weird how much that guy looks like Colin Farrell and how much Albert looks like John C. Reilly, and it was really. It was almost like you could have. Where's the spin-off celebrity impersonator show from this?
I feel like in the casting, they were like, hey, we want a schlubby kind of Colin Farrell type, and they found him. And they were like, we want a similar-looking John C. Reilly type, and they found him. And so it's just like, they know that these archetypes work in Hollywood, so they're like, let's find these types of people. Every show does it.
Some of them could be, like, very niche. I don't think there's a big market for, like, Rachel Weisz impersonators, but
I mean, if you can get it.
The guy that plays Q in the new James Bond movies, there is a guy that looked an awful lot like him.
I haven't seen a James Bond movie. That was the last James Bond movie I saw? I'm asking you.
I think his first movie he was in was Skyfall. So
I think I might have seen like half of Casino Royale, and that was the last one.
That's good. You should see Casino Royale, and you should see Skyfall.
Okay. And then I haven't seen a full one since Pierce Brosnan, probably.
Oh yeah, well there were some bad ones there. Basically, any of the ones that weren't GoldenEye were pretty bad. But no, you should watch that, and you should look up the fight scene between Batista and James Bond in Spectre, because that movie is okay, but very cool fight scene.
Batista the wrestler?
Yeah, he's like the heavy for Christoph Waltz in it. He's good.
I didn't know he was in that movie. I thought he was only in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Nope.
And that's the only movie he will ever do.
Yeah.
Apparently not. Well, good to know.
That's the thing is, when you're one of the leads in one of the most successful movies of the last 5 years, that's like a death knell for your career. You're never going to get cast again.
Well, it's like, what's his name? Haley Joel Osment. What's he doing now? He's on Comedy Bang Bang, I think?
Yeah, it's like how when Haley Joel Osment was in, 1 in Forrest Gump, but then 2 in The Sixth Sense. You know how there were no movies? You know how Haley Joel Osment did not star in a single movie?
Yeah, they were like, we get it.
Yeah.
We don't need more of him. Or like Zoe 101.
They wouldn't even cast Haley Joel Osment in third-hand lines.
Yeah, they were like, second-hand lines, sure. Third-hand? Mm-mm.
Or BI, the sequel to AI, Artificial Intelligence. And actually, it was BI was actually BI was actually a tie-in with The Simpsons, and it was Bartificial Intelligence.
I thought that the sequel to AI was AII, like Roman numerals.
Oh, they actually did both.
They did both. They released 2 sequels to AI.
Like in video games, there's different editions. Like Fire Emblem did this recently, where there's a branching path depending on which game you buy. Well, they did that with the sequels to AI. There was Bartificial Intelligence, and then there was Artificial Intelligence. Which was about a government agency that was designed in gathering intel on artificial intelligence.
I mean, it is a necessary
and
group.
It starred Kevin James. Kevin James.
Did you ever see the Paul Blart Mall Cop?
No, I didn't.
Oh, you're missing out. You're not missing out.
Anyway, also I meant to add. Yes. Also starred Martin Lawrence.
Of course. Of course it did.
He was like, run, tell that, robots.
Bad Boys 3 coming out at some point.
Isn't Martin Lawrence like 60?
Probably. But that doesn't mean he can't be a bad boy still. Bad man now. He's a bad man.
He's incontinent now, so he's saying shit just got real all the time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I wonder how old he is.
No, he's probably in his... He's got to be in his 50s, because Will Smith was like the younger one, and he's in his 40s.
I think Will Smith is without age. Like, if you told me he's 25, I would be like, yeah, sure. And if you were like, he's 85, I would be like, yeah, that sounds right.
I mean, that's not even remotely true, but sorry to reject your premise out of hand.
Opinion.
Sorry to reject your premise out of hand, but Will Smith will forever seem youthful.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, but you also said you could tell me he was 85, and I would say, yeah, okay.
I would be like, if you were 85 and he still looked like that, I would believe you.
Remember
when
Will Smith was hanging out with the Rat Pack back in the day?
I do, yeah. He made them.
It's amazing that he's still
alive. He made them what they are today. Do you want to run through the plot of this film?
Yeah, I think we can... We've beat that this is a reality show joke to death enough. We can drop that pretense. We don't need to do that whole episode.
Wait, it's not? Are you telling me it's not actually a reality show? Because the entire time I was watching it, I was like, oh yeah, this is a reality show. That guy who looks like Colin Farrell sure does have a mustache.
No, it's a good film.
Yeah.
You know what it really reminded me of, honestly? Because it was made by, I can't remember what the Greek filmmakers. Did you take any notes on this?
I took notes on the story, but none on like the actual filmmaking.
Oh, okay.
Or filmmakers.
It's a Greek filmmaker. This was his first English language movie that he's made. which I was kind of surprised to hear, although it kind of makes sense. But this reminded me a lot of Richard Ayoade's 2 movies that he's done.
Oh yeah.
He's done Submarine, which is great, and he's done The Double. Was it The Double? Okay, there were 2 different adaptations of the same Dostoevsky short story or novel or whatever. One of them had Jake Gyllenhaal, and the other one had the one that Richard Ayoade had Jesse Eisenberg.
I
think it's
what was the Jake Gyllenhaal one? I think The Double sounds right.
I think it's
it
The
didn't
Double.
have a huge release though.
No.
The Jake Gyllenhaal one. It wasn't the one about the train, right? Where he has to save all the people on the train.
No, that's Source Code. I'm saying these are the same. Where they both play doppelgangers. Like Jake Gyllenhaal plays 2 different characters that are doppelgangers, and Jesse Eisenberg plays 2 different characters that are doppelgangers.
And they came out recently.
They came out in the same year, like 2 years ago, 2 or 3.
Huh.
I'm looking it up right now.
Okay.
This was not some weird fever dream I had. This happened.
No, I sort of remember the Jake Gyllenhaal one, but I can't for the life of me remember what it was called.
Yeah, it's The Double, but Richard Ayoade helped adapt it and directed it, and it is a very Richard Ayoade thing. But just the delivery, like the very flat, sort of surreal, affectless dialogue that eventually becomes very funny, and just how dry it is.
Yes.
He uses a bit in Submarine and a lot in, or not a lot in The Double, but a little bit in The Double. So
yeah, there was when Colin Farrell's character is first brought into the hotel, and he's like, they're like, "Do you prefer men or women?" And he's like, "Women." Although I did experiment a bit in college, and she's like,
"Is there a bisexual option?" No. It's like, we've not enough funding. We dropped the bisexual option. You'll have to choose what you prefer. And he takes I actually like that because he takes a good minute just and is like, well, he looks really annoyed that he can't pick bisexual, and he's like, all right, I guess I identify as heterosexual.
It was just, that was really well done. And as soon as that scene happened, I was like, all right, I'm in this movie. I'm into this movie. I wasn't in the movie. I don't know if you saw, but I wasn't in it.
We should also probably mention that there are going to be spoilers for this.
Oh yeah, if you haven't seen The Lobster, we're going to talk all about it. So
also go see The Lobster.
Yeah, it's really good. There's that really great joke from Colin Farrell, and then there's also other jokes, and also it's really crazy and very good.
Good and legitimately thought-provoking.
Yeah. One of the things I was talking to a friend of mine about it yesterday, and we were talking about somebody else who definitely wouldn't like it because they don't like movies like this, and it's just like, why is this happening? Don't worry about it. It will be explained in 2 hours.
By the way, that Jake Gyllenhaal movie was Enemy, and I was wrong. It is not an adaptation of Dostoevsky. It just is also a movie about doppelgangers.
Oh. Why are doppelgangers so popular?
They both came out in 2013. I don't know why. That was the year.
The year of the doppelganger.
Year of the doppelganger, 2013.
Weird. I think doppelgangers are weird. No, I mean, I don't think they're weird, but also, it's a weird concept.
Hey, all you doppelgangers out there, stop it.
Stop being that way.
Stop looking like me.
But see, then there's somebody else on the other side of the world who looks just like us, doing the exact same podcast. But it's called I Watched Survivor Last Night.
Watched Survivor last night. You did? It's like the equivalent of, you'll see the store brand, I can't believe it's not butter.
Oh,
where
I love
it'll
those.
be like, butter, it's not.
What was the one in Mount Pleasant called that we loved so much?
I think that was butter, it's not.
Was that butter, it's not? God, that was so good.
Butter, whoa. I'll slow down a minute. It's not.
Is this butter? Because honestly, I could not tell.
Butter, it's not.
But it's not butter. And that also...
No, I mean, for copyright reasons, I can't say it that way. But butter, it's not.
Butter, that is not what this is. It's my favorite one.
You may have been led to believe that this is butter, but it is in fact a substitute.
It's just like a scroll on top of every tub.
Yeah, there's a little subheadline. Try to spot the difference.
Yeah. You won't be able to tell that this is not butter because it is, for all intents and purposes, butter. It has the same properties of butter, but technically speaking, it is not butter. Thank you for buying our product.
It's like a fucking Randy Orton promo. Everything is, or Seth Rollins, or everything is super over-explained.
I like Seth Rollins a whole lot more than Randy Orton, but let's not talk about wrestling. This isn't John Cena's American Grit. This is the Lobster.
Wrestling Free Zone.
Yeah. So he checks into this hotel where they bring single people, and they tell him that he has 45 days to fall in love with somebody, or he gets turned into an animal. Which is such a crazy concept for a movie. And they did a very good job with it.
It's all handled, like, they do a good job of building the universe that this is in, because it's all very straightforward.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, everyone knows the deal. It's very matter of fact. And nobody is, like, doing, like, get a load of this guy faces into the camera.
I think, honestly...
Isn't it crazy that they turn us into animals? Like, nobody is even, like... Do you think that maybe it doesn't make sense that they turn us into animals? No one ever really questions it.
Yeah.
People don't want to be turned into animals, but nobody is, like... Nobody is
weird.
Outright, like, complaining about it.
I would say if this movie could be improved in one way, it would just be, like, John Cena in the corner, like, an animated picture of him just, like, pointing his thumb at John C. Reilly, but like, what's this guy all about? Just the entire movie.
Whoa, who's this, who's this
Who's this jackal?
Who's this palooka? What a maroon.
Can you believe that they're doing this? And he's just got, like, speech bubbles.
Check out the gams on that one. Hubba hubba.
I hope she turns into a horse, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Because John Cena, am very attracted to horses. Specifically when I put him up on my shoulders, hit him with the attitude adjustment, and pin him for the 3 count.
You know it.
Also, the horse dies.
So they bring him into his room, not John Cena, which, if they'd picked John Cena instead of Colin Farrell to be the main character, would have been all right. Would have been all right with that.
Speaking of horses dying, because this never really had much of an impact on the rest of the movie, but it was like a pretty enjoyable scene. The scene at the beginning where that woman is just driving really angrily and then pulls up to those horses and just shoots a horse and leaves.
Yeah. It was just like, oh, that's weird. I'm sure we'll learn more about that. Nah.
I mean, you can just assume it was someone that she knew and had beef with in real life.
Right. I had assumed it was...
Or had horse meat with in real life.
Ooh, gross. Yeah. I mean, I figured it out pretty quickly what was going on with that, but yeah, how, like you were saying, like building the universe, like this is just what happens in this world.
Yeah.
That was the entire purpose of that scene, and I think they did a good job with it.
Yeah, it's a good offbeat kind of jarring scene to lead you into it, where you're like, oh, okay, like I'm in for something a little odd.
Yeah, especially if you like know going in, like people become animals, and you're like, oh, I guess that's kind of what's happening. But then as the movie progresses, it's more well explained. So they bring him into his room. Have I said this already? There's a tranquilizer gun and darts, and then several identical articles of clothing, which is another thing that's just like at the beginning very jarring, but then as the movie progresses, just like, oh yeah, that's just what happens in this place. Everybody wears the exact same clothes, and it's not at all weird.
There is a point when they're having later just like a group like sort of dance, almost like a high school dance.
Yeah.
At one point I was like, oh my god, are they wearing the same dress? And I was like, oh wait, they're all wearing the same dress.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Everybody's wearing the same dress. Yeah. Nice little touch there. And then the hotel manager tells him that he must pick an animal similar to himself. And he picks a lobster and then gives his list of reasons why he picks the lobster. Like, they live a long time. They never become infertile. He
likes the sea a lot.
He's
always been a good swimmer.
I feel like this was a question that was brought up a lot when this movie first came out in theaters. But what animal would you pick? Did you give that any thought at all?
See, the thing is, before we sort of drifted away from that, I was going to ask you what animal John Cena would choose to turn into if he were like if the animated John Cena, throwing like 40s insults at people was there. So I'll let you answer that, and I'll think about what animal I would be.
Okay. I think John Cena would be... I want to say, like, an aircraft carrier, but I know that's not technically an animal.
He goes in, he's like, well, couldn't find my match because no one's as good at me as at wrestling, so I guess I have to get turned into an aircraft carrier.
What's you gonna do?
The hotel just explodes, and there's an aircraft carrier there.
I think John Cena
would turn into the troops.
Yeah, just all of them. I think John Cena would turn into like a very docile Wolverine. Like,
I think he's a little too big for that, though. I feel like, I think John Cena would turn into like a rhino.
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
What's like a really ripped animal? John Cena would turn into
a
Harambe.
gorilla. So he'd just be dead again. I guess they're not dead.
Harambe Cena.
That's a good premise for a wrestler. It's not. Hey, John Cena, don't become Harambe. That's going to be real bad for you.
Remember John Cena's Harambe gimmick? That was terrible.
That was really bad.
Also,
who are you, Jill Stein?
Also, Jesus, I know. Also, since Vince McMahon is always like 3 years behind because he's completely separated from pop culture, like 3 years from now we'll get a Harambe segment.
Joke. Yeah.
Anyway, we've drifted towards wrestling too much.
I know.
And I will
Did
later
you think
tonight.
of your animal?
I will later tonight though be making a Harambe Cena creator wrestler on WWE 2K16.
Oh my god! Please send me some pictures of that.
I will absolutely do that.
As they said in 2008, Pixar didn't happen.
Yep. Tits or GTFO first.
That's right.
This podcast is fake and gay.
So what's your animal? What's your lobster?
I think that I would either be a sloth, because I think that sloths are cool, and I could be lazy, and I would only have to go to the bathroom like once a month.
Oh, I didn't know that about sloths.
Yeah. Basically, sloths would be... I think we had a running thing where we were like, sloths would be the perfect pet. I want a sloth. The only reason that sloths are not the perfect pet is because their claws are incredibly sharp. So you could accidentally get hurt very badly by one of them, but they're super docile, they sleep all the time, they're really cute, and their metabolism is so slow that, one, they pick a spot to go to the bathroom because they never move that far, and they only go to the bathroom in that one spot. So, like, you could train them very easily with that, and they poop, like, once a month.
That's not a bad choice. I think I would be either like a sea turtle, because I also really like the sea. Sea
turtle's a good one. You'll live a long time.
You live a long time, and they're super chill. And I want to go to the Galapagos, which I feel like I could do easily if I were a sea turtle. Or maybe like a buffalo or a bison.
You would immediately be endangered, though.
I mean, well, aren't sea turtles also endangered? Fuck, why are all the cool animals endangered?
Yeah. My other choice, by the way, was a lynx. I just think they're cool.
Oh, yeah, lynx are cool. You got some good choices. I'm going to pick sea turtle, though. Yeah. It's just like, you're just chilling out and everybody loves you. That's like my whole thing.
Yeah.
Just chilling out and everybody loves me.
Who hates sea turtles, honestly?
I'll murder them.
Yeah.
I'll straight up murder anybody who says a bad thing about a sea turtle.
I'll put this out there right now. I'll go on the record. If you hate sea turtles, you deserve to die.
Yep.
By my hand or by Jake's hand.
Either one. Whoever's closer.
No jury would convict us.
Yeah. Sir, why did you murder this person? Well, they said they hate sea turtles. All right, you're free to go.
The judge is like, can we get their corpse in here so that
I can reanimate them
so
and then
that
also
everyone
murder
present
them?
can just kick their corpse?
They deserved to die. Thank you. You did the world a service. So he picks the animal, he picks the lobster, and then he meets a couple guys, and one of them's name is John.
What is Colin Farrell's character name, by the way? Because I kept looking on IMDb like I usually do, like compulsively while I watch movies to confirm who people are or if I was interested in someone to see who they were. And I thought it was very clever, but they only identify, like, the character names in the script are just, like, short-sighted man. Lisping man.
I think... near the end of the movie, they call him Robert or Dave, and John C. Reilly is whichever one isn't Colin Farrell, I think.
He's Albert, isn't he?
Was it Albert? I don't remember.
I just know that the British guy is John.
Yeah. That's like the only character whose name they say a lot, which is like honestly one of the major drawbacks of this movie is like, what is anyone's name?
I kind of liked that, though. I thought it gave it a nice, like, surreal feel. Everyone was defined by their specific trait, which was intentional, because that's one of the things about matching. It's not just that you have to find someone that you're in love with. It's that someone has to share an exact, specific, unique trait with you, or defining trait.
Yeah. So they look at John's leg, and he has a limp, and he tells a story to, like, everybody in the hotel, because they have like these nightly like dinner meetings, I guess. He tells a story about how his mom was turned into a wolf, and then she was sent to a zoo, and he found her and like missed her, so he jumped into the enclosure, and all of the wolves in the enclosure except for 2 attacked him, and he was lucky in that he only got away with a limp.
Yep, and he assumed that one of the 2 wolves that didn't attack was his mother, because he could never. Yeah. He would go visit often, but he could never exactly tell which one was his mother.
Yeah.
Also, Colin Farrell has his brother who has been turned into a very cute dog with him.
Yes, and the hotel manager says everybody wants to be a dog.
That's why there are so many dogs all over the place. Like, she's like, you actually put a lot of thought into your choice. Most people just pick dogs.
Yeah. And as soon as she said that, I was like, I'll be sure not to pick a dog, because that would be a good choice.
I mean, it was a thought.
I feel like I would try to game the system and be like, I want to be turned into a human being. And
they'd be like,
you can't do that.
Nice try. It'd be like in, you had a Who Wants to Be a Millionaire PC game, where if you typed in Regis Philbin for the name, Regis would get mad at you and would turn your name into, like, moron or something like that. Like, you'd be like, nice try, idiot.
Good. There's at this party, I think this was the dance you were talking about, a woman's looking for a seat, and she asks this one woman if she can sit down next to her, and this woman is very rude, and then she sits with a couple other women, one of whom gets a nosebleed a lot, and somebody else, and they tell her that the rude woman has taken 192 captives. Which, what does that mean? I guess we'll find out soon enough.
Oh, also, the other person ends up being an important character. They just define her as the nosebleed girl's best friend, but her trait is that she has very beautiful hair, which she does. Also, that's the trait for the very rude woman, is that it's not even just that she's like rude, it's just she's completely emotionally detached. She doesn't have feelings.
I think the trait for the beautiful hair woman is kind of strange, because it's like everybody else has some sort of ailment. Like, he's short-sighted, he has a limp, she's emotionally detached, she gets nosebleeds. She has beautiful hair.
Well, the woman that follows John in introducing herself says she has a very beautiful smile. That's her trait.
Oh, okay. So Colin Farrell dances with the nosebleed woman, and then an alarm sounds for something called the hunt. They all pile into a bus with the tranquilizer guns, and they run through the woods attacking people. And then after the hunt, they are awarded more days in the hotel for the number of captives they've taken. That was cool.
It's just so surreal. Like, you're like, what is happening? Where you don't know who they're. At first, you think, like, are they shooting darts at each other? Like, are they making them go after each other? And it shows the woman without feelings just tranquilizing someone and then beating the shit out of them.
Yeah.
It's weird. Also, was very pleasantly surprised to see the guy. Colin Farrell goes after a guy and isn't able to catch him. Like, he very nearly gets him, but he doesn't. And that guy was on Spaced and has been in a bunch of stuff, and I was like, I like that guy.
Okay. So then back in the room, the maid asks Colin Farrell to lie down in his bed and take off his pants, and then she just rubs his ass on him until he gets an erection. Again, such a weird thing to happen, but it totally made sense within the context of the film.
Yeah. Liked that maid a lot, too. I liked that character.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, we'll get into her thing. I was like, screaming. I'm screaming, like, but I was very surprised
like when
by
you're
the
screaming, the only thing that you can scream while you're screaming is, I'm screaming!
I'm screaming!
Or alternately, I'm screaming for ice cream.
I scream for ice cream, yes.
Jake, we all scream for ice cream, okay?
At breakfast the next day, John C. Reilly is punished for masturbating. They place his hand in a toaster. Great scene.
Oh, it's so bad.
Wonderful scene.
Also, just love his excuses, like, it was an accident.
Yeah. Oh, man. That whole... I guess it was more of a montage, really, but between that and whatever they were cutting it with, it was... Like, that was some well-done editing. Good job, filmmakers.
Also, like, this movie is very good at juggling a couple different tones. I think part of the reason is because it's such an odd movie that it can sort of switch between tones from, like, sort of weird, like, sardonic to, like, sinister, because that's one of the most like off-putting things I've ever seen in a movie is putting his hand in the toaster. It's just a very, very like holding his hand into a toaster. Like it's having to see that. It's just really, it just made me feel like shit, but in a way that worked. Like I wasn't like I hate this movie for it.
Before seeing it, I heard a lot of people say it's really, really funny, and then I heard a lot of people say it's really depressing, and I was like, I feel like I'm in for a really good time, man, no matter what. It's both, yeah. My friend's roommate apparently took a girl on a second date to go see this movie, and she was like, my friend was like, that seems like a really intense movie to go on a second date with somebody, but like, if
also,
you both
there's a lot
get
of things
it,
you can read into what it says about monogamous relationships. There is a review that I read of this that I thought was a perfect description of it that said that it is very good at, like, it's funny and it does enough to keep you invested but leaves enough open-ended that the viewer can fill in the blanks, basically.
Yeah.
You can put, like, audience interpretation is a big part of it, where it's sort of, you know, there's a clear authorial intent, but there's a lot of things you can read into with your own opinion on it. But yeah, God, it's just good. It's just a really good movie. It's just
really good, yeah. So there's another hunt, and on the bus, Colin Farrell talks to a woman who likes to make biscuits.
No, she just likes biscuits. She just likes to eat biscuits.
Oh, she just likes to eat biscuits. The whole time I thought she liked to make biscuits.
No.
Oh, well, either way. She offers to have sex with him and says that if she doesn't find someone, she's going to kill herself. Weird choice, lady.
I kind of get it, honestly.
Well, I would so much rather be an animal than kill myself.
That process seemed like it would hurt a lot.
Yeah, but then you get to be a sloth. And that'd be cool. Sloths live forever. Did you know that sloths are immortal?
I also don't even know how true it is that the animal is actually the person.
That's a good point. I hadn't thought about that. I was just like, yep, they do that. So in the hotel, the woman who gets nosebleeds is taking a swim, and then John talks to her, and his nose starts bleeding. So they get together. Later, John talks to the main character, and they reveal that he is lying about getting nosebleeds. But then at the dinner party that night, John and the nosebleed woman are announced as a couple, so they are going to move to the couple's room and then a yacht and be monitored. If any issues arise that they can't resolve, they'll be assigned a child, because that usually helps a lot. That was such a great little moment in the movie. The main character has 7 days left to find someone. In the spa, he tells a blonde woman that she has nice hair, and she says it's important that men aren't bald. Again, very funny. I don't know why people didn't think this movie was funny. It was hilarious.
She was like vetting him. And she was like, just because your father wasn't bald doesn't mean that you have no cause for concern. And like, also your hair is too dry.
So she has a meeting with the hotel manager. I guess this was Nosebleed's best friend. It's her last day, and the Nosebleed woman reads her a letter, And then apparently on your last night, you get to do whatever you want, and the manager recommends like doing something you wouldn't be able to do as an animal. So she decides to watch Stand By Me.
Yeah, she's like, so I would like to watch Stand By Me, starring Kiefer Sutherland, Richard Dreyfuss, and somebody else.
Yeah.
And this is after her friend reads her a note that is, justifiably she reacts to it by slapping her, because she's like, when I make a lot of other friends in the city, I doubt any of them will be as good as you. And it's like basically just like, I'm going to be fine, but you're going to get turned into an animal, and she just slaps her.
So the next scene, John and the nosebleed woman are petting a horse. Because the horse was the woman.
It's like a little like show, like a mini, like a little Sebastian style like show pony.
Yeah,
and it's got.
I think it was probably a little bigger than little Sebastian.
Yeah,
but
it's got a really beautiful mane, and I thought that was a really funny little thing where it was like, oh, of course you would pick that.
Yeah. Inside, the main character's phone rings, but he doesn't answer it, and it's the biscuit woman. He decides that he's in love with the short-haired woman.
He has like a little thing where he says he had decided that it was easier for a person with feelings to pretend they didn't have them than it was for a person without feelings to pretend that they had them.
Yeah, that line hit me pretty hard.
Yeah, like he saw John fake it to get into that relationship and was like, oh, I could do that.
Yeah. The biscuit woman jumped from room 108, but she didn't die. So the man joins the short-haired woman in the hot tub as the biscuit woman is just like shrieking in pain in the background.
No, she dies.
No, she didn't. She didn't die.
Somebody else is screaming. That's not her screaming.
I'm pretty sure they made a point of saying that she didn't make it.
She's dead as fuck. Did you see the pool of blood around her head?
She jumped from the first floor of rooms.
She said she was going to... No, she said she was going to go up to one of the higher floors and jump, which she did.
But then she didn't. No, she went to room 108, which I assume was on the first floor of
No, room 108 is her room.
I don't think... one of us is going to have to rewatch this.
She absolutely died.
Why was someone screaming then? Why would they put that through the scene?
The person that saw her fall and die.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure she didn't die. I feel like they made a big point of that. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, she never shows up again, so maybe she did, but I feel like they made a point of...
No, she died.
She probably didn't.
God damn.
So the short-haired woman starts choking and pretends to pass out, and then when she wakes up, she says, I think we're a match. And he agrees. So they go to their double room. And this is when this already crazy movie gets even crazier.
Oh, this features one of my favorite scenes in the movie.
Oh, yeah?
Which is when they meet up with John and his nosebleed partner.
Yes.
They meet their daughter that they've been assigned.
Yes.
And John says, "Go, this is my friend. Go say hi to him." And when she comes over, he goes, Colin Farrell says, why would I want to talk to a stupid little child?" and kicks her in the shin and runs away. And she goes, he's like, you should be happy. Now you'll have a limp just like your father.
That was really good.
Him pretending to be like a really sadistic, feelingless person is hilarious.
Back in the hotel, Colin Farrell and his partner have sex, but neither seem very into it. And the next day, she tells him that she killed his dog, who was his brother, remember?
Okay, well, they do a good job of... It's a very good way to build tension, where you're like, is she testing him again? And you can tell that he's thinking the same thing. Mm-hmm. And then towards the end of her talking about it, she just says that she kept kicking Bob until he died. He looks down and sees that there's just a bunch of blood all over her right leg, and goes into the bathroom and tries to, like, hold his composure and can't.
Yeah. So she says that they're going to the hotel manager, and then they walk through the hotel separately. This scene, like, I had to pay very close attention to, because I was not entirely sure what was going on.
No, she was grabbing him, and then he elbows her and runs away.
Oh, okay. I must have blinked when he elbowed her.
Yeah.
I was just like, how did they get separated? So the maid sees the woman and tells her that he went down the hall, and then she knocks on the door that she's standing in front of, and Colin Farrell comes out and shoots her with a tranquilizer, and he brings her to the transformation room. And then the narrator, who's been narrating this whole thing, reveals that she's a character in the story, which kind of threw me.
Rachel Weisz the whole time.
Yeah.
She was like, "It's me, Austin," and pulled off a mask, and it was Rachel Weisz.
So he leaves the hotel. He meets a woman in the woods who says he can stay with her and her people as long as he needs. They all hide behind some trees as the people from the hotel go out for the hunt. These are the people they've been hunting. See?
Yep. They're called loners.
Yes.
And, okay, I just want to quick, because we kind of passed over it, and it's important thematically in sort of contrast to the loner rules. They, with the couples, throughout, they keep showing them, like, they have almost like these, like, assemblies, and they keep showing them, like, this is why, like, almost like couple propaganda. It's like, this is why being a couple is important, where it's like, man eating food alone, and he chokes to death. It's like, man eating food with woman saves him from choking. When he first gets to the hotel, when they give him his new clothes, they also handcuff one of his hands to his belt, so that he understands the importance of why two things is better than one, and just like little stuff like that. And I also wanted to point out, just because I thought this was also really funny in terms of Colin Farrell pretending to be like a sadistic person, is the initial way that he was going to introduce himself to the emotionless woman was while they were on a hunt, to say, "I wish they would give us real guns for this." And if she tranquilized someone, he would say, "You should finish it and kill them with your bare hands."
Yes. The man, Colin Farrell's character, runs into his friend, and this is like an hour and a half into the movie now. This is the first time they use each other's names. His name is Robert. John C. Reilly's name is David.
Well, he meets the loners before this.
Yeah, didn't I already say that?
Well, okay. Well, they also, when he first gets introduced to the loners, they show there's a guy sitting behind the leader who's a French woman who has like a bandage over his mouth with a blood stain on it, and they mentioned that as a loner, you are allowed to like talk to people as much as you want and converse, but you can't do any kind of romantic activities with them. You can't even flirt. Or they'll like horribly mutilate you. Basically,
I think they called it the red kiss.
The red kiss. They cut their lips and then made them kiss. Yeah.
And then he also mentioned that somebody had red intercourse. And he's like, I can only imagine what that is.
I think they said that they weren't sure if anybody had ever actually had to do that, but that you could guess what it was.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So they're getting, every once in a while, the loners are the ones that are hiding out, and they have to try and survive while they get hunted.
So Robert tells David that he's going to shoot him to win more time, and just before he does, the narrator takes out Robert.
Also, while he's talking to Robert, this has one of maybe the funniest thing in the movie, which is when he's trying to convince Robert that they're like such great friends and that he shouldn't shoot him. Where he says, he's like, "You are always my best friend," and he goes, "Really? Because I always thought that John was sort of the closer friend." And this is so perfect because it's so flat and like it's such a monotone and unconvincing. Colin Farrell just goes, "Oh, who? Oh, sorry. I had completely forgotten who that was. No, you were always my best friend." Like, it's so transparent.
So two of the loners have a conversation about the hotel. And then I wrote in my notes, "The maid."
Yeah.
That's all I wrote. That's the only note I wrote for that scene. Then we find out that the maid is on birth control. Robert catches a rabbit for the narrator because she likes rabbits to eat. Like, she's not like hoarding rabbits as pets.
Yeah, it's not a I almost said Grapes of Wrath. It's not a the other John Steinbeck one. that we all had to read.
Of Mice and Men.
Of Mice and Men, yeah. It's not an Of Mice and Men situation. It's not a Lenny situation.
Yes. Robert, the narrator, and two other people walk into the city and go shopping. In the mall, a woman with an expired marriage certificate is questioned by the police, and then they stop Robert and ask for his marriage certificate when his wife, who is the narrator, walks up, and it's revealed that she, just like Robert, is short-sighted. And they go to her parents' house, which was a weird thing. Like, I didn't think any of these people had parents. I mean, I know that John mentioned his mom earlier, but, like, to see them interacting was just like, what? This is, like, everybody's just cool with this.
It was a little weird. I thought them going into the city was always really interesting to me because I think one of the other reasons that this kind of reminded me of The Double is both of them have kind of weird dystopian futures that aren't so dystopian that they look indistinct from what we're used to.
Right.
But it's it's a dystopian, like, totalitarian regime or, you know, like, that's built almost entirely on the importance of being in a monogamous relationship as a couple, which is weird. Like the classic, like, show me your papers thing, but with that you have a marriage certificate. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But it's also really, it's interesting and amusing.
Yeah, it's, yeah, I would like, I doubt they'll ever make a sequel or a spin-off to this, but I would love more of that government in something. Just, like, more explore the government within the city.
I think it would make a very interesting television series.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, this is the kind of thing. This is not a movie that you make a sequel for. This is a higher art. This is an art film.
The second Lobster.
Yeah, the Lobster 2. This is Back to the Hotel. Like, this is an art film. We don't make sequels to those.
Generally. Then they go to her parents' house, and Robert tries to convince them that he loves her. Spoiler alert, he does.
Mm-hmm.
And then they go back to the woods, and the loners formulate a plan to infiltrate the hotel. Robert decides to go on to John's yacht, and he tells the nosebleed woman that John's nose doesn't bleed naturally like hers does. And the other loners break into the manager's room and are, like, threatening to kill her, and is like, between her and her husband, like, which one of you can live on your own better? And her husband's like, oh, definitely me. I could do that. So they give him the gun to shoot her. Great move. He pulls the trigger, but there's nothing in the gun.
Yep. This is just, like, in both scenes, just showing these people how these supposedly perfect relationships are all just kind of built on lies.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're not perfect.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So the loners have a dance party in the woods, and Robert is apparently supposed to dig his own grave. Then he...
oh, no, all loners dig their own graves.
All loners dig their own graves,
yeah,
okay.
And nobody else... Like, the one guy that gets caught in the bear trap, they say, either die here or you have to escape from the bear trap, otherwise they'll take you. And if you think you can make it, come back to the camp. But if you can't, then head straight to your grave. And they mean that literally, not like figuratively.
Yeah.
It's literally like every loner has dug their own grave. Nobody else will put them in that grave. So when they die, they have to go to their grave.
Mm-hmm. So Robert has another conversation with the narrator, and she explains to us, the audience, a sort of, like, sign language that they've created. And we find out that she's been, like, talking to somebody else also. And Robert approaches the other man and accuses him of also being short-sighted. Robert and the narrator sync their CD players, and they dance together and kiss, which you're not supposed to do.
Yeah, did you mention, by the way, that they have dance parties? This was one of the other funniest things, is when the leader was explaining the dance parties that they have. She was like, but everyone is allowed, or is only allowed to dance by themselves, which is why we mostly play electronic music. And everyone listens to it. It's like those silent raves or whatever, where everyone just listens to the music on headphones. So there's no music actually playing. It's just people dancing while listening to headphones, all solitarily.
Yeah, so they go into the city again and make out, well, they listen to some people play guitar, and the other loner woman stops them. Back in the woods, they come up with a plan to disappear during the next hunt and let everyone assume they've been captured. The leader of the loners learns about their relationship, and she forces Robert to dig his grave. Then there are 3 loner women in a doctor's office in the waiting room in the city. And the narrator goes in for eye surgery. But it's not like normal eye surgery. The doctor tells the leader that she is now blind.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be LASIK. Like, I thought she was just going to have it repaired so that they wouldn't be a match. But it was much crueler than that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like how they're like, no, we're better than the hotel because we're not forcing people to get together. But then they do like this super brutal shit when people do.
Yeah, they're just as repressive.
They're just as awful.
Yeah.
So in the woods, Robert approaches her but doesn't realize that she's blind. And she tells him that he says that he'll help her. He explains.
This was also funny because she, for like a little bit, is trying to fake like she can see.
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, I've brought something for you," and she goes, "Oh, it looks delicious. I'll eat it right away." And he's like, "It's a flashlight. I got you a big flashlight." She's like, "Oh, I'm sorry." It's like, "Wow, that's big. It's the biggest one I've ever seen." And then she's like, "I'm not gonna lie to you. I can see." People trying to lie to each other with the most unconvincing. Like, it's hard to explain. Like, it's wonderful.
Yeah, if you haven't seen this movie, we've done a really we've been talking about it for almost an hour. We have done a terrible job explaining. There's so many little things.
Experience it. Describing this movie is not going to fully convey its appeal. It's an experience.
Oh my God, it's so good. So she tells him, and he says that he'll help her, and he explains the sign language that he's using to describe something that he wants to do, and she seems excited. The leaders of the loners wakes up in what is supposed to be Robert's grave. Robert and the narrator escape to the city. And then in a diner, Robert asks the waiter for a knife and fork, specifically a steak knife. And
he requests that it be dull, right? Like, not a good one.
Oh, I don't remember.
I assume that's because
I think he was saying he wanted a steak knife because a butter knife would be dull. And he didn't want a dull knife. He wanted a real knife.
Okay.
Or something like that.
Because I thought maybe it was like a crappier steak knife just because, like, it's to blind himself. If the cut was too clean, maybe it would heal.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Like, the result is the same. He takes the steak knife into the bathroom.
Well, the result is the same, or is it?
Exactly. He goes into the bathroom and holds it up to his eye, and then we see the narrator sitting alone, kind of like waiting for him to come back. And then it ends. And that's just it. It's like, oh, but what happened, though? Do you think he did it? Do you think he blinded himself?
I think he left.
You think he left?
I think he left.
He was so connected to her, though.
Yeah, but was he, though?
Yeah, he was so excited that they were both short-sighted. And they had the sign language thing.
But they're not anymore. It's changed. The relationship changed, and both of them were trying to act like it was the same, but it wasn't.
That's true. But they could make it the same.
Yeah, they could make it the same by him blinding himself.
Yeah. So what is the message of this movie?
There's a lot going on in this movie.
Because it seems like it's like surface level relationships aren't worth it, and also totalitarian governments are bad, and also sometimes relationships are good, but also no, they're not.
It's like there's a lot it says about relationships. Obviously there's something about the dichotomy between like sort of repressive regimes and then rebel groups and how they can both. It's kind of like, honestly, the closest thing I would compare it to in terms of what it's saying about that is BioShock Infinite. Where it's like, okay, this is bad, but also sometimes uprisings are equally brutal and bad in their own way.
Yeah. I thought a lot about, I know you don't watch it, but I thought a lot in the hotel about Are You the One? Because that whole show is about, like, matching people together.
Yeah, it's like you're putting someone in a position where they have to, or like Bachelor in Paradise is like that, too.
No, Are You the One is so much more brutal than Bachelor in Paradise because it's like two people make a really strong connection. There's usually one or two couples every season that make a really strong connection early on and, like, refuse to break up even though they know they're not supposed to be together. And it's just like, but you understand that this game is math, right? Like, if you guys stay together, we can't do this. And it was, like, a lot of that, but more, I don't know.
That's the thing.
More strenuous emotionally.
The stakes are a lot lower in BIP.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like,
that show is crazy, too.
Yeah.
Have you seen any of it?
No, I just started watching it because I got sucked in because I listened to an episode of Rose Buddies about it. And... yeah, that show is also crazy, but... Yeah.
Oh, my God. The same thing happened to me. I was like, I want to listen to Rose Buddies. I should watch the show along with it. And that was for this last season of Bachelorette, which was just god-awful all the way through. But Rose Buddies was really funny, so I enjoyed that. And I was like, this show is crazy. No wonder it's so popular. And then I started watching BIP, and I was like, this show is crazy.
Yeah, it's worth... Yeah, that is... If BIP... Bachelor in Paradise, or BIP, as they call it on Rose Buddies, is... it's like Bachelor and Bachelorette on steroids. Mm-hmm. It's insane.
Honestly, I want to get on the
amphetamines.
I want to get on the Bachelorette just so that I can be on Bachelor in Paradise, because it seems like the coolest... like 3 months of your life.
Yeah, but there's no apparently there's no air conditioning.
Yeah.
And they were in Mexico.
That is kind of a bummer, but like...
Also, their dates are all really weird.
That's true. Okay, let's not talk. We can talk about this when we're done.
If you want to know more about it, just listen to Rose Buddies. It's a good podcast. They're funnier than we are.
Yeah, for sure. But do they make as many wrestling references as us? Yes, probably.
No, they don't. We have two people. We're making wrestling references for two, not for one.
That's true.
And also, I know more about wrestling than you, Griffin McElroy. Deal with it.
Whoa. Shots
Calling
fired.
You out. Putting them on blast.
Shots fired. Fan cast versus fan cast. Rose Buddies versus Did You Watch Survivor Last Night? Who's going to come out on top? Probably the one that's really popular. But... what if it was us instead? Okay, so next week is episode 51 of your favorite show, Did You Watch Survivor Last Night? Which means we're going to go through our next 25 episode titles. Do you want to just do that, or do you want to watch something also?
I think we should just do that, and I think that we should also... We're different people than we were for episode 26. I think that we should go through the first 25 again. See how we feel about them. See how we
Thomas,
feel about
that is a genius idea. That is such a good idea.
So we're going through all 50 titles.
We're going to go through all 50 titles. Yeah, all right. I'm into that. That's a good idea.
Oh, also, I meant to make this joke earlier, but I think this would be a good title joke for this.
Okay.
John Cena Riley.
John Cena Riley. I get it. Because you can't see John C. Riley in the movie because he's kind of like a secondary character.
No, it's just
is that not what you were?
No, it's just
their names.
It's like a portmanteau.
Oh yeah, like a boat. Because port and tow are both boat words.
Yeah,
and men are on boats.
Yeah, or like Lil Yachty is a boatman.
That's true.
He's a little boat.
Yeah, there's so many reasons that portmanteau is a boat word.
But you know what? There's no wrong way to eat a reason.
Exactly.
I think we should probably wrap this up.
Yep. All right. Survivor comes back September 21st, so we'll stop doing this dumb shit. It'll be the same dumb shit, but it'll be more focused. The week before that, I think we're going to run through the cast list and pick somebody from that cast list, so that'll happen in a few weeks.
Yeah.
And we'll deal with all that when that happens. I have another podcast called the Crash Test Podcast. We just played a game that stars Vin Diesel, and it's amazing. So listen to that on Thursday.
Is it one of the Chronicles of Riddick games?
It's not. It's called Wheelman.
Oh, I bet it's bad then. I was going to say...
It's real bad.
If it was like Chronicles of Riddick Escape from Butcher Bay, that's a really good game. So I was like, why are you guys playing a good game?
No. We have an email if you ever feel you want to email us, do so at didyouwatchlastnight@gmail.com. And remember to sign your email, your pal Jeff Probst.
I will say, I will put this out here right now.
Mm-hmm.
If John Cena emails us, he is allowed to sign it, John Cena.
John Cena, Jeff Probst, TJ Lavin, and Colin Farrell can all use their real names. All the rest of y'all got to use Jeff Probst.
And
that's
also,
a rule.
You can't even sign Jeff Probst.
Whoa. Okay. Let me just let me make a note of that time right there. Can't be using that man's name.
Fuck.
All right. Well, we are well over an hour at this point, and by well over, I mean at any point over. So let's do the sign off here. So as always,
have a great summer.
Deuces.
Your time is up, my time is now. You can't see me, my time is now. It's the franchise where I'm shining now. You can't see me, my time is now. In case you forgot or fell off, I'm still hot, knock your shell off. My money stacked fat, plus I can't turn the swell off. The franchise doing big business, I live this, it's automatic. I win this, so you hear those horns, you finish. A soldier, and I stay under you fighting. Plus I'm storming on these chumps like I'm thunder and lightning. Ain't no way you breaking me, kid. I'm harder than nails. Plus I keep it on lock like I'm part of the jail. I'm slaughtering stale competition. I got the whole block wishing they could run with my division, but they gone fishing with no bait. Kid your boy whole weight. I got my soul straight. I brush your mouth like Colgate. In any weather, I'm never better. Your boy's so hot, you never catch me in the next man's sweater. If they hate, let them hate. I drop your whole clan. Lay your ass down for the 3-second tan. Your time is up, my time is now. You can't see me, my time is now. It's the franchise where I'm shining now. You can't see me, my time is now.
It's gon' be what it's gon' be. 5 pounds of courage, bloody base, 10 pants with a gold tee. It's a war dance, a victory step. A raw stance is a gift, and you insist it's my rep. John Cena trademark, y'all are so-so. And talk about the bread you make, but don't know the recipe for dodo. Aiming guns in all your photos, that's a no-no. When this pop, your lip lock, your big talks a blatant no-so. See what happens when the ice age melt. You see monetary status is not what matters, but it helps. I rock a timepiece by Benny, if any. The same reason y'all could love me is the same reason y'all condemn me. A man's measured by the way that he thinks, not clothing lines, ice links, leather and minks. I spent 20 plus years seeking knowledge of self. So for now, Mark Frederick's living life for wealth.
Your time is up, my time is now. You can't see me, my time is now. It's the franchise where I'm shining now. You can't see me, my time is now. Your time is up, my time is now. You can't see me, my time is now. It's the franchise where I'm shining.